All right, man, peace. You know, brothers, there are certain NBA players that are going to the Hall of Fame that when I bring their names up, there's always a large group of people who consider themselves NBA watchers or NBA viewers or NBA aficionados who act as if they're incredulous when I say this. Like, for example, Kevin Love is going to the Hall of Fame. Dwight Howard is going to the Hall of Fame. Look at their credentials. 8, 9-time All-Stars. Dwight Howard won Defensive Player of the Year award something like 3 or 4 years in a row. They are going to the Hall of Fame. I said this in the past. Chris Bosh is going to the Hall of Fame. What it is oftentimes is that on some of these championship teams, the third best player many times gets left out of the collective consciousness of the viewers. They might be watching an NBA Finals and they see the third best player on a team, and they don't associate him with being a Hall of Famer because when they think that term Hall of Fame, they think dominant, primary, alpha male on a championship level squad. And that's not always the case. Chris Bosh will be going to the Hall of Fame, and he's pretty much going to let that be known. He sat down in an interview with Lisa Salters, and he said just that he's one of the best players ever. His words, not mine. So anyway, they're going to talk about it, and I'm going to chime in.
Chris Bosh will have his number 1 retired in Miami tonight. Jason, how are you going to...
Tim Hardaway. Tim Hardaway is one of the best point guards of the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
You going to remember Chris Bosh?
Oh, talented player. He made a big shot against us when I was coaching Brooklyn on the baseline to seal the series. So a clutch player, champion, and a true professional.
Well,
Chris Bosh was like a left-handed, much better version of Horace Grant when Horace Grant was in his prime in the early to mid-90s. Chris Bosh was a better left-handed version of Horace Grant. Very good offensive player and a great, great defensive player.
well, Zach, go ahead.
Texas boy.
And the gayest looking motherfucker in the history of the NBA. Let me not forget that shit. Let me wind this back a little bit.
Boy. Player, champion, and a true professional.
Well, Zach.
Look at this shit. How is it that he does not have any family members or friends that let him know how gay some of his shit looks, man? I mean, are you out of your fucking mind? Look at this.
Go ahead.
Texas boy. Anytime you can get a Texas boy get his jersey retired, I'm all for it.
All for it. Well, here's what he told Lisa Salters about his legacy. This was for a piece for E60.
You know, I've done some things only a small amount of people that have ever lived have done.
Agreed.
And I take pride in that.
You should.
That's your humble brag.
Yeah, that's my humble one. You know, 11 All-Stars in a row.
11 All-Star games in a row. How many players in the history of the NBA have done that?
You know, I never ever say that stuff, but it's true because if you don't tell people, they'll forget.
And you need to say that shit more often. Because I never would have guessed that you played in 11 straight All-Star games. If I would have had to have guessed, I would have said something like 8, maybe 9.
I do consider myself to be one of the greatest to ever play the game.
Well, you should. 11 straight All-Star appearances, 2 championships. You definitely should consider yourself that. Chris Bosh is definitely a top 70 all-time great player. Maybe even top 50. Who knows?
He's right. He never says stuff like that. I was thrilled he said that to Lisa, and I'm thrilled he's getting his due tonight. He had a rocky parting with that franchise, obviously, with the way his career ended. So
It's sad that it ended the way because he is one of the best to play the game. He was part of the group that changed the game with the stretch 5 or stretch 4. And
Yep.
so
Well, in the modern era, he definitely was part of the group that helped change the game and bring in the stretch 4. But the concept of the stretch 4, that goes way back. That goes back to Bob McAdoo. Hell, maybe even Bob Pettit back in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s.
Yep.
So I'm happy to see his number going in the Raptors.
absolutely. All right, we got to talk.
But anyway, that's basically it on that. I just caught that little mini segment, thought it was very interesting because Chris Bosh was saying something that very few players do say, especially in his position, but he needs to say that because he's not a LeBron James, he's not a Michael Jordan, he's not a Kobe Bryant, where he has a fan base that's always going to extol his virtues and his accomplishments. And if you make 11 straight All-Star games, you should let that be known. So anyway, peace.